Welcome to the Tiny House Ideas podcast. Today's episode 11 of the Tiny House Ideas podcast, we're going to be discussing Airbnbs, rentals, and what it's like to short-term let your tiny house. And to talk about this with me and give us a greater insight, I'm joined by Cole. Cole's the owner of Twin Rivers Tiny Home in California, and we're going to be talking about the design style, the aesthetic, the things that you need to have in place for people that come to rent your tiny house, and lots more. So if you've ever stayed in a tiny house, or if you've got a tiny house that you let out, there's some tips and tricks for both of you, and we're going to be discussing that on today's episode, so enjoy. Welcome to the Tiny House Ideas podcast, the show where we talk about how to live a more fulfilling life with less. My name's Harry Alvarez-Garman, and I've got tons of exciting guests lined up for you, including authors, entrepreneurs, and tiny house owners. If you love minimalism, sustainable living, personal development, and everything in between, then you're in the right place. On the show, we'll be talking about how you can do more of what you love, how to turn your passion into a career, and how to live more sustainably.
Hello, my name is Cole Henry Herdline. I'm the owner and host of Twin Rivers Tiny Home, a Latvian retreat. We've been doing business on Airbnb in Northern California since December of 2019, and we have loved every minute of it. And we have been using a Escape 1XL tiny home. It is 388 square feet. It has 2 lofts, wonderful build. It weighs around 11,000 pounds and just been a miracle to own. Every experience we've had with us personally, as well as our wonderful guests that have come over to visit, everyone has loved it. And we've done many additions to it over now this pandemic. We've added accent walls. We have done headboards for both beds in each loft. We have completely redone the entertainment area and the living area. We built a custom bar made out of iron oak, and it turned out way better than we ever imagined it to be. And we have many more projects to come up with it.
Amazing. That all sounds brilliant. Thank you for that little introduction to yourself. So I'll start off by asking, where did it all start? What sort of got you interested in tiny houses? What made you, what inspired you to start the Airbnb?
Yeah, so I had been interested in that particular home model of the tiny homes by Escape since I was about 14 years old. I love things that are very geometric and very square as well, and very much a fan of the modernistic architecture. Every other tiny house, they seem to be more kind of like a park model home, I'd say. They're very traditional, very classic, and not many are modernistic. And just so happened that Escape was one of the first tiny home manufacturers to really adapt into that world. Then I met my wonderful fiance from Latvia, hence a Latvian retreat. We decided to take the plunge and see what happens.
So you've got it up for Airbnb at the moment. What's your experience been sort of having it rented out, hosting guests? Obviously, it's been a difficult time, I can imagine, the last few months with everything going on. But what's been your experience?
I would say it's been a trial by fire experience. Everything has rapidly changed over the course of the last few months, yet mostly for the better. We started the Airbnb in early December. We just got the house in November of last year. We had a few bookings here and there, but as soon as the pandemic hit, after the permanent quarantines were off in the main residential areas of California and the Bay Area, many people were looking for escapes and getaways into the mountains. Yeah. And us being a 40-acre property in the heart of the Sierra Nevada gold country, many people flocked to the area and wanted to experience the tiny home life.
Exactly. Yeah, so, I can imagine they wanted to get away from the hustle and bustle with everything going on and just really find some peace and just find some space to unwind and just catch up with everything.
Definitely. Yes. And we have, as I said, we have 40 acres, 12 of which is a walnut orchard, and we're backed up against all privately owned by my family. We have 320 acres on my uncle's side, and we have 400 acres of government-owned Bureau of Land Management land over there as well that we have the access to, as well as the grazing rights. So our guests are
the grazing rights. Yeah, exactly.
And
massive Massive.
Yes, our own little island, as we like to call it to our guests. And, everybody seems to very much enjoy it.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh, that's really good to hear. Good to hear. So what after that then, what do you think the plan is? Are you sort of going to look to continue building it after 2, or is it going to sort of just be the 2 houses on the property, or what's the sort of longer term future plan, do you think, for the ranch?
So we'll probably, after that house, we'll probably get maybe 1 or 2 more. And well, again, our biggest thing is that we want all of our guests to have a very personalized, custom tailored experience. That's why Airbnb is such a wonderful platform, is that hotels, they give a very generic, very cookie cutter experience, as they should for every guest. But with Airbnb, it gives the hosts a much better way of dealing with their guests and giving them a one-of-a-kind experience that they'll never forget. So thinking of that, we try to keep all the houses as far as possible while still keeping them within range of Wi-Fi, electricity, and water. We can get another house in there easily in the addition of the 2 that will be in the range of water as well as electricity and Wi-Fi while having space. But if we choose to go with more beyond those 3, we would have to completely find a new way to find electricity, move it down there, and get water.
So then obviously everyone's got their own private area, their own private space to sort of unwind and do their own thing. But then obviously if they choose to, then there's the option there. So if there's a bigger party, to sort of have obviously communal areas or whatever, so they can all sort of, like you say, build a community or also have their own space individually, which is nice, sort of best of both worlds. Let's have a look. Are there any other sort of DIY furniture projects that you're looking at in the near future? Anything for outside? Because obviously you've got a lovely sort of area looking out over the view there. What are you planning for out there?
Well, for now, we just have a couple outdoor chairs on the patio, and but very soon, right now my fiance and I, we are in Croatia, but as soon as we get back to the States, we'll be building a outdoor couch and lounge. Very lovely modern design that we found, and it'll probably be upwards of 7 to 8 feet long and 4 feet wide. So I believe people will very much enjoy that on the patio as well.
Oh, brilliant. It'll sort of be a nice place to get your feet up and just enjoy after a day of walking around or exploring the ranch, to just sort of sit there and enjoy the view, keep warm. Yeah, no, it sounds like a lovely sort of romantic, lovely idea.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate
brilliant.
it.
Well, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, and it's sort of been great to hear about your insights of behind the scenes being an Airbnb host and sort of looking at expanding to host more tiny homes on your property. It's been a pleasure to speak to you.
It's been wonderful speaking to you as well.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot.
To listen to the full episode of the Tiny House Ideas podcast, head to your favourite podcast streaming platform. It's available on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts. And alternatively, if you'd rather watch the full episode as a video, so the full conversation in a video format, that's only available on Patreon.